The 14th of April, 1912. Beneath a sky filled with stars, the greatest ship ever built sailed into history, completely unaware of what lay ahead. Far ahead, hidden in the darkness, a silent giant waited. It never moved, because it didn't have to. Across the endless Atlantic, Titanic looked unstoppable. But even the largest ship on Earth was only a tiny light in an unforgiving ocean. Just days earlier, thousands gathered to witness a moment the world would never forget. Titanic's maiden voyage had begun. Stretching nearly 270 meters, Titanic wasn't just a ship. It was the greatest engineering achievement of its age. Inside, every staircase, chandelier, and polished hallway reflected a future humanity believed could never fail. To those aboard, the Atlantic felt peaceful, and Titanic seemed invincible as she sailed confidently into the night. Some dreamed of fortune, others searched for a new beginning. Every passenger carried a destination and a story. Families laughed, strangers became friends, and hope filled every deck. None of them knew this journey would become legend. Then, out of the darkness, the Atlantic revealed the obstacle that would change history forever. The Atlantic was eerily calm. So calm that even veteran sailors found it unsettling. Titanic sailed on without hesitation, her engines driving her relentlessly into the frozen night. Far ahead, an ancient giant drifted silently across her path. Warnings had already arrived, but the darkness revealed nothing. Captain Edward Smith remained calm, unaware that every passing minute mattered. High above the deck, two lookouts searched the endless horizon with only their eyes. Below, laughter echoed through the grand dining hall. No one sensed the danger outside. The air grew colder, frost covered the rails, and the sea fell completely silent. In perfect stillness, the ocean hid its deadliest secret. Still, the engines thundered at nearly full speed into the darkness ahead. Then, just before midnight, a shadow emerged. Iceberg, right ahead. Then, a single voice shattered the frozen night. Iceberg, right ahead. The bridge exploded into action. Hard a starboard, engines full reverse, but time was running out. But Titanic was no ordinary ship. More than 50,000 tons of steel could not change direction in an instant. The giant answered the helm, agonizingly slowly. Steel whispered against ancient ice, so quietly that almost no one realized their fate had just changed forever. While the passengers carried on, one man walked toward the truth. Thomas Andrews needed answers. Below the waterline, the ocean had already found its way inside. One compartment flooded, then another. Titanic could survive 4, but not 6. Thomas Andrews looked down at the plans. He didn't need long. The numbers left no room for hope. Titanic was still floating. Her passengers still believed they were safe. But beneath their feet, the countdown had already begun. Thomas Andrews had reached the only conclusion that mattered. Titanic was going to sink. For one long, unbearable moment, neither man spoke. Then Captain Smith made the decision history would never forget. Prepare the lifeboats. Yet across the ship, almost no one believed they were in danger. Music still filled the grand halls. Children still laughed. Life carried on, as if nothing had happened. Beneath a sky filled with stars, families admired the beauty of the night, never imagining it would become their last. Quietly, the crew uncovered the lifeboats. The race against time had begun. Deep inside the Marconi room, desperate distress calls echoed into the darkness. Hundreds of kilometers away, another ship finally heard the call. Help was coming, but time was running out. Almost imperceptibly, Titanic settled deeper into the freezing Atlantic. Now, even the passengers could feel it. Captain Edward Smith gave the order. Women and children first.
Come on,
Crew
get it
members
done.
hurried to prepare the lifeboats. Most passengers still believed it was only a precaution. Many refused to board. Titanic still looked too magnificent to be sinking. Below deck, third-class families searched the endless corridors, desperate to find a way to the boat deck. The orchestra never stopped playing. Their music became the final soundtrack of the unsinkable ship. White distress rockets climbed into the night sky. Only silence answered. The bow sank lower with every passing minute. Now, no one could deny the truth. Lifeboats slipped into the freezing Atlantic, carrying only a fraction of those on board. Final embraces replaced hopeful smiles. Many never realized it was their last goodbye. Titanic still blazed with light, alone in the endless darkness. From the lifeboats, hundreds watched in helpless silence as Titanic's bow slipped deeper into the freezing Atlantic. Panic swept the decks. Every remaining lifeboat became humanity's last hope. The orchestra kept playing, choosing courage over fear until the very end. The sea claimed the ship from within, flooding the grand staircase and the heart of Titanic. Captain Edward Smith released his crew with quiet dignity, every man for himself. The final lifeboat disappeared into the darkness. More than 1,500 souls remained aboard. Titanic's stern climbed higher into the night, towering above the Atlantic like a doomed giant. Then the unthinkable happened. The lights flickered, and Titanic tore apart. For one haunting moment, the stern stood against the stars before beginning its final descent. At 2:20 a.m., Titanic disappeared beneath the Atlantic. The lights were gone, only silence. When dawn broke over the Atlantic, Titanic had vanished. Only silence, scattered debris, and the survivors remained. Hundreds drifted through the freezing morning, wrapped in blankets and grief, surrounded by an endless sea. Hours later, RMS Carpathia arrived, bringing hope to those who had survived the longest night of their lives. Only about 700 people were rescued. More than 1,500 men, women, and children were lost forever. The disaster stunned the world. A ship believed to be nearly unsinkable had become one of history's greatest maritime tragedies. From that night came lasting change. Enough lifeboats for every passenger, continuous radio watches, and safer standards at sea. For more than 70 years, Titanic rested unseen in the darkness of the Atlantic, her final resting place hidden from the world. In 1985, explorers finally found the wreck, nearly 4,000 meters below the surface, preserved in the cold depths of the ocean. Time continues its quiet work. Rust and the sea slowly reclaim the great ship, but her story refuses to disappear. More than a century later, Titanic is remembered not for her size or luxury, but for the courage, sacrifice, and thousands of lives forever changed on that cold April night.